I'm going to talk here for 20 minutes to show you what organizational data types is, how you can use them, and how you build them. I'm Lars. I'm a part of the Power BI Customer Advisory team, and I'm based in Denmark, working with customers in Scandinavia and Eastern Europe. So I have a few slides, and then I will do some demos, and if you have any questions, then just let me know along the way. So I'll quickly give a recap of the different data types that actually exist in Excel. You may or may not be aware of them. Then I will dig into how you're actually building these organizational data types, and finally how you're consuming them. So we have three types or three categories of data types in Excel. We have what's called linked data types, custom data types, and organizational data types. The linked data types has been in Excel for 4 or 5 years. They were launched in 2018, and they are built in Excel. We have stocks, currency, and geography. And the way these data types works, that's like common for all data types in Excel, is that you have some data in a cell in Excel. So here, this is the geography one. I have cities, and then you can go in the data ribbon and then bind these cities to the geography data type, and then you will be able to get different attributes for each city. And there's also this little, I think it should look like a map icon, so when you click on that, you will also get the details. I'll not be showing this to you here, but if you want me to show it to you, we can do that later. So this works as built in Excel. Then we have the custom data types. Custom data types is also something that only exists in Excel. They're built using Power Query in Excel. And you may think that Power Query is the same in all products, but it's not. So this is an Excel specific feature. And the way these custom data types work is that you can combine different columns into a custom data type. And this is an example you see here. So you can see that this customer here has this little icon. And when I click on this, then I get more details, in this case, for customer name. So if I would like to combine a lot of columns into one, then you can do this. Remember, this only works in Excel, so this is not directly related to Power BI. So now comes the basic topic of this session, and that is organizational data type. And this is where we are interacting with Power BI, because this is about building your own data types. I will show an example in my first demo where I build a customer data type so I can get details about the customer. And I will also show you a few use cases that are pre-built that you can use organizational data types for. But it's basically up to you what you actually want to include in these organizational data types. So if you would like to build your own geography data type showing something that is not in the built-in data type, you can do this using organizational data types. These data types are created in Power BI Desktop, and then they are consumed in Excel. So the way you build organizational data types, you'll get these slides somehow afterwards, so this is just for reference, and I will also show it to you. So you build your own data types, you create them as a featured table in Power BI Desktop in the model view. It's important when you do this, if you go home and try this, that the data set, it must be 100% import. So if you try to make a composite model have just one table that is direct query, then it will not work. You configure the table as a feature table, so it looks like this. So when you select a table in the properties, then in the bottom there's is feature table. And when you turn it on, then you get a dialog box that looks like this, where you have to give a description, a row label, and then a column key. This is an example. And then once you're done, you publish this data set to the service, and then all users who have build permission to the data set will be able to consume this organizational data type in Excel. And the way it's consumed is that you need to enter some data in cells in Excel. So if you just open a blank Excel sheet and connect to an organizational data type, then you will actually be told we need some data to work with in order to relate it. So once you have done that, then you select the data. Here I have some customer names, and then you go into the data ribbon, and then you can select from your organization at the bottom, and you cannot see it here on the slide, but I'll show you. You can actually get more if you have more. Here, and then if you're using Microsoft Information Protection labels, then it's also inherited. I'll also show you how this works. So then you'll get a warning that looks like this in Excel. So let me show you how we actually built this. So I will start in Power BI Desktop. Any questions before I get started? No. So here, this is Power BI Desktop. I don't have any data right now. So this is a very, very basic example. I will connect to a SQL database. And I have two parameters for my server name and for my database name. And remember, it has to be import. So I will select a customer table. It's the bottom one. And I want to do one transformation, because in this table that I'm importing, I have my first name and last name of customers in two different columns. And if I want to be able to search for them, I would like to combine that into one column with name. So I select these two, merge the columns, and say it has to be a space, and this is name. Very, very basic. Then I close and apply and load this table into my model. Good. And then I go into the model view. And this is where, when I select my table, I get these different options over here. So if I'm very good when I'm building my model, which we all are, then we of course provide description for all our fields. So I'll just call this all customers. And if you provide this description, or already have it, and you click this is feature table on, then this dialog box will automatically inherit this description, so you don't have to enter it twice. But you can add a new description here if you like. Then my row label, that is the column in my table that will be matched when I type something in Excel. So I created this new column that was called name. So this is my customer name. So I select name. And then I need to have a key column. So this has to be, as it says here, select a column with unique values. And this will be my customer key. Then I click Save. And now I am basically ready to go. One last thing, because I want to show you how these sensitivity or Microsoft Information Protect labels work, is that I will label this as confidential, all employees. If you have not set up these sensitivity labels in your organizations, then you will not have access to it. But and it works the same way. But if you have confidential information here, it's inherited in Excel, as you will see. So it means that if you have a policy saying that this information cannot be shared outside of my organization, and it actually means that it's both for all your Power BI content, but it's also for the Excel content that are connected to my data set. Then I will save this. We will call it SQL bits. And save. And then I will publish it to my, I'm logged in as a user called Rachel here, so I will publish it to a workspace in Rachel's tenant here, so organizational data type. Good. Should take a few seconds. So, okay, here we go. So now, here as Rachel, I just want to make sure that I actually have the data set in here. So it's called SQL bits. Oops, clicked on something here. So right now, I cannot really tell that this data set has an organizational data type. And that comes to life when I go into Excel. And my first demo here I want to show in this environment in Excel Online, because it works both in desktop version of Excel and Excel Online. So I go into a blank workbook here, and I have a few customer names. So opening Excel without any connection to anything. And here, and then somewhere I paste my values here. If it works, here. And then a good practice in general when working with Excel is to format things as tables, because then you can work easier with it, and especially when you have these data types, it's good to use it as a table, because when we want to expand these column names or these customer names with more attributes, then when you have the tables, you'll automatically get the headers right and so on. So I will go insert and say I want to insert a table, and my table has headers. So now what I want to do, I want to select these 4 customer names and then go into the data ribbon. And in here, I have a number of data types. So in the bottom here, I have from my organization, and if I want to search for more, then I can actually go in here and then look for them. And now I didn't rename my table, so it's called dim customer geo, and I can click on this. I can also click on this little information icon. I don't have a lot of information here, but it tells me that this is the table that is called dim customer geo. It has a description that is all customers. There's no endorsements. It's in this workspace. It's this data set. It was last updated this time, and the contact person is Rachel. And this information will be available to all the consumers who have access to the build permission to this data set. So when I click here, and we hope that it works now, then Excel will look up these 4 customer names in my Power BI data set here. And what you'll see is at least 2 things. The first thing is that because I added my sensitivity label, Excel now tells me that the organization has automatically applied the sensitivity label. So now I know that this is protected, and it's actually encrypted as well. And the second thing you'll see is that for each of these names, there's a little suitcase. And this little suitcase tells me that now this is an organizational data type. So this data is actually linked to some data in my Power BI data set. So what I can do here is that I can click on this suitcase, and then and then I get all the details for each customer. Maybe I don't have a lot of interesting details here, but this is some basic stuff. So as I said, you can build whatever is relevant for you. What you'll also see is when I'm in my table, I get this little icon here where I can insert more columns. So I can click on this, and then I can say, okay, I would like to see my city for my customer. I would like to have my country. I would like to have their occupation and so on. So when you have a table, then we automatically expand this table and get the columns right. So this is building an organizational data type from scratch and how to consume it in Excel. So whenever my data gets updated in my data set, then it also gets updated in here. Questions? Yeah?
Yeah, there is a question. Does this work inside pivot tables as well?
The question is if it works inside pivot tables, and the answer is no, it does not. It has to be like flat, simple tables. So if you want it in pivot tables, then you would have to like connect to the data set in Power BI.
I haven't actually used feature tables before, I confess. Can you have all one in a single Power BI data set?
Yes, for each data set, you can have as many feature tables as you like. Okay, I have 6 minutes left, and I have a few examples that I want to show you how to use it. This is a pre-built data set, or some complaints I have from my, let's say, my customer organization. I have a number of customers who have made complaints. You see the description here and the customer names. And imagine that you are responsible for these customers and you actually want to prioritize and find out how should I contact these customers. Well, if you have an organizational data type, then you can actually link it to here. So I selected my customers, then I go to data and up here, and then I have a type called CRM customer data. And when I click this, then I'm linking it to my data type. And sometimes Excel is not matching the columns, which is happening now. So this data selector prompt is opened, so I actually have to select it. And there are different reasons why this is happening. I'm not going to go into details about that right now. I'm just going to select it. So if you were a customer representative responsible for all these customers, well, you would have access to your CRM system, and then you could actually get all the details you liked, but that will take time. If you have an organizational data type like this, then I actually have, for this one, I have my contact name, I have my a phone number, and then in order to prioritize which customer should I actually contact first, I could look at how angry they are in their complaint. But I could also add this current order totals and then sort this column. Here, largest to smallest, and then I can actually see that this quick stop is this customer who has spent the most, so that's probably the most important customer to contact. So just an example of how you can use it.
Can I just ask a question on that very
Yeah.
quickly? Where you added the phone number there,
Yeah.
if in your back-end system someone's phone number was updated, would that immediately reflect, or would you have to do a refresh somehow?
Yeah, so the question is, if the phone number was updated in the underlying source system, if it would immediately reflect in here. It would reflect it in here when the Power BI dataset is updated. Okay, I want to show you one other thing in here, if I can find it here. So if you are in an organization where you work with images of something, then I have a pre-built data set here for some Lego sets. And this shows a nice image and other information here. The beauty of working with organizational data types is that you can actually expand this one and get your image in Excel as well. So here, if I make these, now it's very small images, but if I make my cells bigger, then the images from your organizational data type will actually be as big as the cells that you have. So some customers are actually using organizational data types to have some kind of product master management catalog. And in order to use these images, you will make sure that in your data set here in Power BI, this is my image URL, it has to be categorized as the data category image URL. I have 2 minutes left, so I want to quickly show you one last thing here. This is also a pre-built example of how you could use organizational data type. This is Excel Online. And what this actually is, this is a product, a master product data catalog. So here I can select different products. And I will select another product, and I see this. What's special about this one is that I actually have some column or some cells in here where I could change the numbers. So if I wanted to change that was not allowed in here, so I am allowed to change some of the cells in here. It really doesn't matter. So you could actually do write back from Excel to your underlying source. So what's happening in here is that I have a button here that is called Save Changes. I'm not going to press it because then I might make something wrong for a colleague. But what this Save Changes does, it calls an Office script. So in Excel, you have this automate ribbon. And in here, you can have different scripts. And if I can... Here it comes. So I have this script that's called Save Changes that are related to this button here. And what this does, it actually calls an Azure function that is writing my changes in here to an underlying Azure SQL database. Of course, this is an integration that you have to build, but it actually enables the functionality or capability of having write back from Excel to some data that you have in Power BI. I only have less than a minute left, so I don't want to start a new demo. If you have any questions, I will be around for the rest of the day and come up here and talk to me after the session if needed. And I just want to highlight the slide about the evaluation here. But thanks for listening.